This is Michael from Necronomicon Ex Mortis, and you are listening to The Dan Chan Show.
I have Michael with me, guitarist from Necronomicon Ex Mortis. How's it going, man?
You know, man, I'm feeling good. I'm hopped up on coffee, and I'm excited to do this.
Awesome, awesome. And you're in Chi-Town, right? A place very close to my heart.
Yeah, north side of Chicago, and it's Chicago proper, not the suburbs.
Proper
Chicago proper.
Chicago. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, being a Brit, obsessed with weather. What's it like? Is it brutal there at the moment?
Well, I like winter a lot. I'm
Right.
not a big fan of summer or sun in general. So right
Yeah.
now we got pretty slammed with 6, 7 inches of snow, maybe.
Really? Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, over the weekend.
How do you cope with that? Do you have vehicles that just? I've never been to the States in snow. I've been to the States many times, but never been in snow time. So obviously, you're more geared up to deal with it more than say we are in Europe.
So, all right, I'm originally from North Dakota, which is several
Oh,
hundred
of
miles north of here, and it's way colder and
course it
snows a
is.
lot more.
Yeah, yeah,
And you deal with it. You get snow tires. You go out to the car 15 minutes before you actually need it, turn it on, let it warm up, and then you
yeah,
scrape the ice off of it.
yeah.
It's
You
old
used to
hat
do that.
now.
You used to do that a lot in the UK before like things started warming up a bit. And you don't have to do that so much. The UK is just raining all the time. Anyway, mate, onwards. So the band name. I want to get into this straight away. Obviously, Lovecraft is very close to your heart.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah,
Necronomicon Ex Mortis means Book of the Dead, right? What made you come to that name?
it's an Evil Dead reference. Evil Dead's my favorite movie of all time.
Right. Okay.
The Necronomicon in that movie, they specifically called the Necronomicon Ex Mortis. I
Mhm.
think I don't remember the exact reason why. I think it was something to do with they didn't know if they could get sued for just calling it the Necronomicon. So
Right.
essentially, they called it Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead of the Dead.
Right. Yeah. 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 So you are. We'll get into the horror stuff later because you're a bit of a horror freak, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. We'll get into that. But first of all, I want to get into the music because you're about to release a split with LA's Blood Feast Ritual on is it February the 21st, isn't it? Something like
Yes.
that.
Yes, it
Firstly,
is.
what made you choose this method of release instead of like going it alone with an EP?
So I started Blood Feast Ritual when I lived in LA.
Oh,
Uh,
right. All
yeah,
right. So,
yeah.
so are you still in Blood Feast Ritual?
Well, okay, that's a complicated
Here
question.
we go. I didn't know this. This is good.
Yeah, we're gonna air some dirty laundry here. No, it's not going to be that bad. Um, in 2019, I lived in California, and I started Blood Feast Ritual with the other guitar player, Hunter Gurney, who was my guitar student for a while, and we just had a really similar sense of humor. So we started playing tunes together. We found a drummer, found a vocalist, and then started writing songs. Our
Right.
first EP, Altars of Sacrifice, came out July 24th, 2020.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, is right when COVID
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
its
Yeah.
height.
Of
We were
course.
all stuck inside. There were some problems behind the scenes during that time, lineup issues mostly. We could not keep a bass player. I think we went through three bass players. No, we went through, I think, five bass players in 3 months, something like that.
Right.
And our drummer had some personal issues that impacted the way he could play. Um, and so he decided to step down. With Hunter and I remaining and the singer David, we could not agree on what to do next.
Right.
And frankly, living in California, I was bleeding money. It
Mm.
is so expensive to live there. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
decided, my wife and I moved back to Chicago uh, because it's close to my family.
Sure.
It is by and large less expensive, at least considering the fact that it's a major US city. And during that time, because when you're in a band, you thrive off being together. You thrive off of playing a show or getting in and rehearsal
Of course you do. Of
together. Yeah. But
course.
without that, I just was like, I've got these songs, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna form my own band
Mm.
and just do it as kind of a remote thing and figure out the details later. So that's how Necronomicon started. And I contacted a bunch of buds from back in the Berkeley days, and essentially said, "Hey guys, you want to play on my death metal project?" And they went, "Why would we do that?" And I said, "What else are you doing?" And they're, "Okay, sure." And that's
Awesome.
how it, yeah, that's how it formed. Blood Feast ended up recording more songs, but the remaining members, again, myself, Hunter, and David, we could not agree on how to release them.
Right.
Uh, couldn't agree on what our budget would be, or if we were going to try and contact a small label. Couldn't agree on how much merch to order. So, unfortunately, because we weren't all in the same room, we couldn't get on the same page. Things just sort of quietly fizzled out.
Right.
Which is, it's unfortunate because we had a lot of fun together. Those songs sat on my hard drive for I think 3 years,
Right.
and finally, I just said, I want this out because they're good songs. I believe in these songs, and they're not doing any good just sitting on my computer.
Mm.
So that's why it's a split instead of an EP, because I thought, well, I can put these songs out at some effort and cost, or for the same effort and cost, I could also put out some Necronomicon stuff and promote both.
Yeah.
It, it
Excellent.
was it was purely an economic
Mm.
strategy to do that.
Got it.
And to answer the if I'm still in Blood Feast question, if you asked me this 2 months ago, I would have said no, it's over.
Right.
But after the first single came out in December, I think it
Mm.
was the 13th or the 12th, something like that. The older guys got in contact with me and we just started talking about the good times. And I floated the idea of maybe dropping some more tunes. And they seem open to it. Now, after the split comes out, we're going to sit down and have a very serious conversation on what that looks like so we can all manage expectations properly. But I'm approaching it with cautious optimism
Sure.
that we might have something else to do
Awesome.
before the year is over.
That's right. Bonus. I didn't expect that in this chat, to be honest with you. I didn't expect that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's tough because being in a band is very expensive,
Sure.
and we're living through a time where people don't have a whole lot of disposable income,
Mm.
uh, and we certainly don't have a whole lot of disposable time either because David's in his mid 30s now, Hunter's in his early 30s. I just turned 30. I mean, it's just you get older, your free time tends to
Indeed.
diminish.
Indeed.
So it's
Indeed,
just
man.
if we're going to do this, we need to do it properly. We can still have fun. We can
Yeah.
still believe in it, but it's we can't just sit around, get drunk, and maybe come up
Yeah.
with a riff. We
Yeah.
need to actually do this properly.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
So your last release was, get this right, it was a matter of like, I know it's Christmas and then we feel like we're in a new year, but it's a matter of weeks ago, wasn't it? Really?
November 29th, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, tell me how you like to write and record and tell me if we're expecting anything different, evolution, or is it much of the same? What are you thinking?
So, okay. The Necronomicon guys, I live relatively close to the singer. So I'm in Chicago. He's in Aurora, which is, call it an hour away,
Right.
down in the southwest suburbs. Um, we can get together, hang out, maybe write some stuff or do some musical things. But the other guys, one lives in Boston. That's our drummer. Our bass player, Yusuf, lives in Toronto. The other guitar
Mm.
player lives in Princeton, New Jersey.
Right.
So we're all spread out for the most part. The Obviously the bad part about that is we're not getting together and jam,
Yeah. Yeah.
which that sucks. That's always the dream you have when you start a band is
Of
I want
course.
to the fraternity, we're all going to get together and practice 6 times
Yeah.
a week.
Of course.
Not even because we need to, just because, hey, we love metal and
Hang
why
out.
not?
Of course.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't get to do that. But the good thing, and this is kind of the strength we're attempting to play into, we have so little time to get together throughout the year that when we do, we block off, 2 weeks or so, and we say, this is what must get done. And
Mm.
when we get together, we are quick, clean, and efficient.
Hmm.
And because we can only do this a few times a year, we have the opportunity to really focus on what we want each release to be
Right.
thematically, artistically, that kind of a thing. I think that lends a sense of something consistency. There we go. You can tell I'm
Sure.
tired.
Yeah.
Lends a sense of consistency to the music um, that people have pointed out when they've reviewed us or listened to the tunes. But recording has largely been the same. We go out to Ultimate Studios in Panorama City, California. and worked with Charlie Waymeyer. And at this point, Charlie's known me. So I just turned 30, and Charlie's known me almost 7 years. So he's very close to being stuck with me for life. And I love the guy. I
Yeah.
love the way he makes us work because he's a very straight to the point, no BS kind of guy.
Mm.
And if he thinks you are playing like crap, he has no compunction of telling you you're playing like crap, do it better.
Yeah.
And he will make you sit there and do it again and again and again
What you need.
until two things happens. You
Yeah.
either get the best possible performance or you screw up so spectacularity that it actually adds some modicum of personality to the music and you leave it in. Because
Yeah.
there's a couple of latent errors on some recordings that, I mean, you can point them out as a mistake, and they absolutely are, but they're so not repeatable that it actually makes the music a little bit more colorful. So we just
Sure.
left it.
Yeah. Of
But
course.
yeah, I love working with Charlie. And he's also, he functionally acts as a producer as well. So there's a
Mm.
lot of times we come in and he'll say, okay, well, this song works and structurally it's fine, but maybe this riff could use a harmony, or maybe we actually add a counter melody here, or maybe the guitars drop out and we have just the drums for 2 bars before the chorus or something like that. So functionally, he's also acting as producer, and he mixes everything too. So we go in with literally nothing, except the songs being written, obviously, but
Yeah.
we don't come to him with pre-recorded songs and have him sample anything. No, we'll go in with nothing.
Mm.
Chord, and everything is done in-house. It makes life very simple and again very consistent because he's engineered nearly everything we've put out.
Right.
To timing reasons, some of You and Your Friends Are Dead, Game Over, our 30p. Some of that was recorded in a basement here in Illinois, but most everything we've done has been through Charlie.
Right.
And he's mixed You and Your Friends Are Dead, Game Over too. So he's got his hands all over it.
It sounds awesome, doesn't it? It sounds so good.
Yeah, he's really kind of, I mean, he'll record anything. He's recorded soul, blues, he's recorded rappers, he's recorded modern metal. But being that we keep going back to him, he has been able to hone his skills in the metal world, even more so than before. And he's really been also able to help us define our sound and what we go for in a production,
Yeah.
or in a mix or something like that.
Yeah. Nice. So, you are the lyric writer and the mindset, what it seems behind the band. Where do you go in your head to start the writing process, and what are you writing about lyrically?
Lyrically, it's mainly horror movies,
Yeah.
horror books, or horror games. I mean, I'm very much a horror junkie. It's my biggest passion other than playing guitar.
Right.
So, I basically just wanted a way to combine my favorite things, which were horror movies, death metal for both the technicality of death metal, but also just the raw, pissed off emotion.
Yeah.
A lot of the 80s shred worship, those old shrapnel guitar players that I still think are unbeatable. I mean, we're kind of in a second golden age for guitar playing now, but most of the modern guys just don't really do much for me. I always go back to Greg Howe and Jason Becker and Marty Friedman, just like the old school dudes.
Yeah.
But as for lyrics, I mean, the Lovecraft stuff is always fun to write about because it just gets so weird. I love Stephen King. This is not a joke. I'm not saying this to make anyone laugh. I mean it. I nearly failed out of high school because I had more interest in reading Stephen King books and then playing gigs with my band on the weekend than actually working in school.
Right. Well, I think that's for a lot of people. That's nothing funny about that, man.
Yeah, but I read most of his books in a 4-year span. I haven't read The Dark Tower yet. That's the only thing I haven't got to. But big Stephen King fan. I just found a local guy here in Chicago. I think his name is John Everson, and he put out a book called The House by the Cemetery that I just read, which is all about Bachelor's Grove in Illinois. And it was very, very creepy, very pulpy, very fun. I met him actually at the Music Box Theater when he was doing a book signing during Giallo January. I went to go see Blood and Black Lace by Mario Bava.
Right.
Yeah, and then he was there with his books. It was, very cool to meet him. But yeah, I mean, the lyrics are mainly just horror stories, either
Mm,
from a movie or from a game or from a comic book. I read a lot of Tomb of Dracula.
mm.
And sometimes I make up the stories myself. Like on
Yeah,
our
that's
second
cool.
Silver Bullet, there's Crypt of the Gorilla God. I That's not exactly a sophisticated story, but it's hey, maybe we shouldn't go to an island and mess with what's there
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
the giant ape is going to come out of a tomb and mess you up.
With your, shall we say, in inverted commas, obsession with horror and the way you're so like it's in your blood, shall we say? Could you ever see yourself writing a book? Is it in you?
I would love to, truthfully. Creative writing was the only thing I did well in school.
Right.
And it's something I'm very much interested in because I read a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think writing a book would be insanely fun. The thing is, with a creative endeavor like that, you're signing away a year of your life.
Yeah,
And
sure.
you really say the album, the same with an album too. It's
Yeah.
typically maybe
Yeah.
that long.
Yeah.
But the difference is functionally is I've written so many songs at this point in my life that I understand what writing a song feels like. I
Mm.
know what my process is like, and I know realistically what my limits and goals are. A book, though, I don't have that. I'd love to do it, but it's going to take a long time to
The
sort of,
depth of it. Yeah.
yeah, find my own voice as well as understand how that process is actually going to be different or understand how certain parts will probably feel the same.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a
Yeah,
question. When it comes to horror, do you like to read the book and create your own like images, or do you like it on a screen?
that's a really good question. There are sometimes I will prefer the book
Right.
more so, and that usually is the case with the Stephen King movies.
Yeah.
Uh, I haven't seen a version of Pet Cemetery on the screen that I liked yet,
All right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but I love the book.
Yeah.
Actually, the sequel to Pet Cemetery, the one with Edward Furlong, is kind of hilarious because it's just so
Yeah.
bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
more of the time, I actually prefer the book,
Okay.
unless the director has really got some extreme kind of special sauce he's putting into his movie. And that director for me is usually John Carpenter. So I actually
Okay.
prefer Christine, the movie, over
Yeah.
Christine's book.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I mean it's John Carpenter. How could you
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
Man
Of
can
course.
do basically nothing wrong except for the ward.
All
that
right.
that
Well,
one was
what about this then? Obviously the big one at the moment, Nosferatu. Have you seen it yet?
I saw it on Christmas Day, the last showing at 10 p.m. at night.
What's it like? I'm going this week because in Spain I have to go to certain showings where it shows the version original in English, so I have to wait like weeks until they come out. What's it like? I'm seeing it this week.
Okay. It's awesome. It really
Is
is.
it?
Robert Eggers.
Yeah, he's the legend.
I wasn't a big fan of The Witch, and
No, I like The Witch though. I like The Lighthouse as well.
it's so The Witch. I like it more now, but I didn't care for it when I first saw it. Um, and so I kind of wrote him off and didn't see his other movies. I went to go see Nosferatu, and I thought, oh my God, I need to go back and
Hmm.
watch what he's done so far. I mean, it's a Victorian Gothic nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I can't wait.
It's you're gonna have a good time.
But I can't
Uh,
wait.
the accents are a little thick,
Yeah.
uh, especially when they're speaking with like an old Romanian accent.
Right. Yeah.
Bill
Yeah.
Skarsgård doing that, so it's a little hard to pick up at first. You got to get used to it, but it's excellent. And then
Yeah.
I saw The Lighthouse. Like the next day, I said, "Okay, I'm watching The Lighthouse." Loved that, and then I watched The Northman, which isn't really horror, but
No.
I still enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite gory though.
Yeah. It's looking forward to it. I can't wait to see it myself, man. I really can't. I'm going to quickly just bring you back to the band. I want to ask, when do you think you might have maybe a full album release? Is that in the planning? And
Oh, absolutely.
all the time that has to go into that. Obviously you just touched on how long it takes to get things going and where everyone else is. Do you think is that in the in the near future or?
Yes. So, okay. The plan with Necronomicon has always been rapid fire small releases
Yeah, yeah,
to get
yeah, for sure.
out. I think in the modern music day and age, I annoy people with how much I wish it were 1987. My band is so sick of hearing me say that. But in 2025, it's easier to release something small, promote it like
Yeah.
crazy, waiting period, and then do it again. And so,
Mm,
this split coming out on the 21st of February, we're at five of them in under 2 years. And
mm,
that's
mm.
more or less how we plan to finish out 2025 is just smaller, quicker releases
Yeah.
because we're trying to, and I will unabashedly say this, we're trying to go for a label.
Hmm.
Uh, but in order to do that, we need proper merch with sales
Yeah.
and we need touring under our belt.
Hmm.
So we've done quite a few releases now. People know who we are.
Yeah.
Uh, we've been reviewed and things like that. So I
I
think
mean,
if
I've
we
been
were,
playing you on the show for what seems like an age now. I've been playing your when new single comes out, I'll play it. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
so yeah, you've always been there, but I'm like, where's the album? Where's everything else kind of thing, you know?
Well, so that's the good news is 2025 will largely see the smaller releases. The album is recorded. All
Ah,
we need to do is add guitar solos. That's the only thing not done. Well, guitar
exclusive,
solos
man.
and vocal
Exclusive
layering.
shit coming out.
Yeah, yeah. And the plan is quite simply this is just after we get the planned smaller releases, there's a few left. We'll push those out. I think it's got some of our best stuff so far
Brilliant.
on these smaller releases. So I'm very excited for the stuff coming up. But once those are out, we've got the touring under our belt, or at least have done
Mm.
some more show playing. And we've got some merch sales that we can show a label that, hey, we can move product. Then we say, the album is done.
Mm.
There have been music videos made. All the promotional materials you possibly need, they're done. They're ready to go. You
The
don't have to spend
package.
cent
There.
on this.
It's there to go. That's what they want to hear.
Exactly.
An easy deal.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely what they want to hear. And nowadays, I the big debate is do you need a label or not? I think
I know what you
there
mean.
are certain advantages to being independent, and there are certain advantages to having a label. For me, it comes down to promotion and distribution.
Mm.
If I can have a label help me offset
Of
those
course.
costs,
Yeah.
because I pay for all this stuff out of pocket. I used to
Sure.
have a guitar collection. It's considerably
Yeah.
smaller now.
The amount of bands
Uh,
that, the amount of bands I've spoken to who did it all themselves, and then when they got onto a label, this obviously a shitload of great labels over here in Europe, especially, they've noticed the difference. Like I was speaking to Gravethorn, who are from Las Vegas. They got on Wormhole Death Records, based in Italy, and he's gonna be there next week at NAM, and he's like, how much it's changed their whole mentality and their structure and everything. Having the label behind them is like having someone. There's an engine room going all the time for them, and they love that. And it's so you can see there's a bonus from having the label behind you.
oh yeah, yeah. And I think you just have to rise as high as you can as an independent and prove yourself that you're not a garage band
That's right.
to drink and sit on an old couch and write riffs, but you're
Mm,
actually like, hey, we're professionals. We want to do this. This is something that we can offer people.
yeah.
If a label sees that, I think you're probably fine.
Exactly, exactly. So you just touched upon shows. What's happening with shows? Have you done many? Obviously, the guys are all over this, North America and everything. It's probably hard to bring everyone together. But what's your show repertoire like?
So we unfortunately haven't done anything all that official. We had a small tour planned. It fell through. Our other vocalist is in a band, or our vocalist is in another band
Yeah.
called the Mystical Hot Chocolate Endeavor, and they had a last minute tour opportunity that they jumped on, and
Mm,
unfortunately,
yeah.
the Necronomicon
Yeah.
stuff, it just timeline didn't work out, and I understand that, that's his baby, that's
Sure.
what
Sure.
Necronomicon is to me, that's what Mystical is to him, and
Sure.
so he had to do that tour, and then we were going to plan for some touring over that summer, and then things just got crazy expensive in the touring
Mm,
world.
mm.
A couple of the guys had some job opportunities they couldn't pass up.
So difficult, isn't it?
It's
I
all the
think
typical.
I think your music would sit so well with the European crowd as well.
We're bigger in Europe, believe it or not.
I'm sure. I'm
Our
sure.
number one country is Finland
Yeah, of
It's
course it
it's
is. Of course it's fucking Finland, man. It's
it's
like the most
Finland,
metal
it's
country.
Russia, it's Poland.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course,
The
of
more
course.
east you go, the more they like
Yeah,
us.
that's amazing. Maybe not Russia, but great. Okay, so let's go back a bit, like with regards to your taste in music. When did you start getting into metal? Just in a nutshell, what bands got you to where you are now?
It all started first with Joe Satriani.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
Oddly enough, who's about as metal as nothing, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I absolutely love Satriani. And when I was a kid, this radio station would play something off Surfing with the Alien almost daily.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And every time Satriani came on, my dad would just notice that I would sit down and just listen. I was like, oh my God, what is this?
Mm.
So that's what inspired my parents to, give me a guitar.
Yeah.
And Satriani seemed impossible, but Black Sabbath didn't. So
Right.
I got into Black Sabbath and AC/DC, and the classic rock thing carried me forward for a long time until I was about 12. And my dad gave me a copy of Live After Death by Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And
No, so the
just
rest
put
is
it,
history.
they're still my favorite band of all time. I've seen them
Yeah.
13 times. I have
Wow.
tickets to see them in August in Poland this year.
Wow.
I'm flying halfway across the world to see Iron Maiden.
Yeah, of course. Music travel now these days is just a thing to do, isn't it? You don't rely on the band coming to your city. You got to go and see the band.
Oh yeah, but I mean, just I could not be more excited because it's all songs from the first nine albums.
Yeah.
But I mean, it got me into metal, and then from there it was a lot of the thrash stuff. Megadeth and Testament were
Mm.
always one of my two favorites. Exodus and Slayer being immediately after that. From thrash, it went to prog. I found
Right.
Symphony X and
Yeah.
Dream Theater pretty much side by side, and I go, oh my
Sure.
God. And then because of Satriani, I got into the Shrapnel Records stuff. Big fan of Steve Vai, big fan of Vinnie Moore,
Mm.
uh, Greg Howe, just Yngwie, Paul Gilbert, probably my favorite overall. And then after the prog stuff, death metal,
Yeah.
and I really got into the kind of death metal that I guess you call it technical death metal was what came first. Obscura did it for me
Mm.
because I love Christian
Yeah.
listeners.
Obscura. Great band.
And I've taken some lessons with Christian. I've met him several times. He's the friggin' coolest dude.
Yeah, I've had him on
Christian
the show
Gilbert,
before. Yeah.
yeah, Christian and
Great
Paul
band.
Gilbert are probably just my two favorite players.
Yeah.
But then death metal is such a wide genre. I mean, you
Mm.
can make death metal that's really technical and brutal. You can make death metal that's mid-tempo,
Mm.
like Bolt Thrower does. You can make it really sloppy and like a zombie shambling forward, kind of like that old Obituary sound. I mean, there's so much you can
Totally.
do with it.
So true.
Yeah, and that's why I consider Necronomicon Ex Mortis a death metal band because we are always going to use death metal as the base of everything,
Mm.
but play around with the various subgenres within that because there's just so much you can combine.
Yeah.
Commit
Absolutely.
yourself to one idea when you can do 15.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, here's one. Might test you a little bit. The amount of names you've named, but obviously you're an American guy. You know what Mount Rushmore is. Who would be on your Mount Rushmore of rock and metal? Four people etched in forever. Who would it be?
Are we doing just death metal or all of
Anything
rock
you
and roll?
like. Anything you like. You could be Michael Jackson for if you want. It could be anyone you want.
Okay. Okay. If we're doing Mount Rushmore, four people, first has got to be Iron Maiden because uh, I think that is some of the strongest melody writing in all of rock and metal.
Yeah, of course.
Bruce Dickinson is, yeah, oddly enough, he's my favorite guy in the band. You'd think it'd be a guitar player, but I love Bruce's voice. I
Yeah.
love his melodies. I actually think Dance of Death is one of the best records purely because of Bruce's vocal performance.
Mm-hmm.
The songs are good. It's not their strongest songwriting in the world, but the vocal performance on that record just blows my mind every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So Maiden's the first one that's got to go up there. After that, Obscura, because I love the technicality mixed with the brutality and mixed with legitimately great songwriting too.
Yeah.
It's not too much of one to sacrifice the other. It's
Sure.
everything at once. And plus, again, Christian's guitar playing is insane. After that, Racer X.
Right. Okay.
for the Paul Gilbert. Absolutely. I love glam. I
Right.
love hair metal so much. And so many of those guitar players were just insane. I mean, that's what you needed back in the 80s was, we're going to have our fast aggressive song, we're going to have our ballad, we're going to have another aggressive tune. And there's amazing guitar player on tons of those records. I mean,
Mm,
George Lynch, Dawkins,
of course.
Reb Beach from Winger, but Paul Gilbert is you know, probably my favorite overall. So I got to stick Racer X up there. Plus, even though it's a hair metal band, I take more inspiration from Racer X to write Necronomicon stuff
Mm,
than I do most bands that are actually in death metal.
interesting. Right.
Well, it's the second Heat record with Bruce Bollier and Paul Gilbert. I
Mm,
love both insane guitar players,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
such a different style
Mm,
that complements each other so well. And of course, you can say, Cacophony with Jason Becker and Marty Friedman,
mm,
or Iron Maiden,
mm,
Dave and Adrian, or you know, Glenn from Judas Priest. Just the twin guitar attack
yeah.
is the coolest thing in the world. So yeah, Racer X is up there, and then I'll throw another death metal band in there. I don't know if I want to say Dying Fetus or Suffocation, but it's got to be one of the
One of
two.
them too. Okay.
Maybe Suffocation because there's less of a hardcore influence, and I'm not really a punk guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll stick Suffocation up there because, dear God, the relentlessness of those riffs. And a lot
Yeah.
of dudes are like, yeah, Suffocation really kind of ends with Despise the Sun. Once they got back together, that's not real Suffocation. No, man, those records are nuts.
Yeah. 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 Oh, I know.
I I saw them with the Incantation actually a
There you go.
couple of times.
Yeah. There you go.
I've got the Incantation hat on today.
There we
I
go.
think,
I thought I recognized it. It's slightly blurred, but I thought we're twinning today, mate.
yeah.
It's a sign. It's a sign. So, what's the okay? All that aside, what's if I was to go on your playlist? What's the most unusual non-metal would I find? The weirdest would I find in your playlist?
I love really sad British music.
There's a lot of
So
that.
I'm a big fan of Tears for Fears
Oh, really?
and
Back
The
in the
Cure.
80s. Right, I see.
Yeah, and
I
Depeche
see.
Mode.
Awesome. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, very
Yeah,
cool. Love all
I
that.
like Dua Lipa a lot.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't care for her third record as much as Future Nostalgia, but yeah, I listen to a lot of Dua Lipa. I listen to a lot of the 1975
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, because it's Phil Collins 2.0 basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course it is.
Yeah, so I like a lot of that stuff just because realistically the three genres I listen to most. I mean, I listen to a lot of stuff, but I it's a lot of metal, it's a lot of kind of 80s nerdy guitar stuff, and it's a lot of 80s pop,
Yeah,
usually British or British inspired. I
yeah,
like unironically listen to Go West
yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
very
West. Yeah,
often.
yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. Well, I've got some fun questions now. You ready for some fun, quick fire questions?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, who do you think is the next Metallica? Could play at their stage in like a few years' time. Who's coming through that could be the next Metallica?
Okay. Some guys call this a metal band, some don't. But regardless, I think Alice in
Ghost.
Chains.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ghost. Uh,
Yeah. No, I think Alice in Chains realistically because so the 90s are nostalgic now,
of course.
right? Now Alice in Chains, they were in the heyday just over 30 years ago. Well, that's enough time for people to kind of rediscover it and go, oh my God, this is amazing. And I
Yeah.
legitimately think they were the best band of the 90s. I don't personally think they're a metal band. So
Right. Yeah.
excluding metal, I think they're the best band of the 90s. But Jerry Cantrell is an amazing guitar player and a great songwriter. And
Good.
I think that because of the nostalgia coming back around and the fact that their music really does hold up, I
Interesting.
think they could probably do it
Wow.
if really.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Interesting
saw
angle.
him one. It was,
Yeah. Interesting
awesome.
angle.
It was awesome until it started to rain and it was an outdoor venue.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
They only got 7 songs into an 18-song set and had to leave.
Oh no. Shit.
Yeah.
So next one. What's your most unpopular musical opinion, Michael?
Modern guitar playing is very joyless.
Okay.
It
Why?
feels Well, it feels to me, so I did the Berkeley thing, right? I
Yeah.
went and I was around guitar players that call themselves prog or really listen to a lot of the modern dudes. And a lot of that music to me feels more like an intellectual exercise
Mm.
than a good melody,
Yeah. I
something
understand that.
fun.
I understand that.
Yeah, you listen to Satriani, you can tell he's having the best time in the world
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
guitar.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or Vi or Tony McAlpine or Vinnie Moore, all these
Yeah,
dudes.
I agree.
The stuff now, and I don't know whether it's just because the musical concepts are getting more complex. Not that I have a problem with complexity, I definitely don't, but maybe it's something in the production. Maybe it's the fact that, none of this stuff is recorded with real amps, and I'm showing my bias very heavily here, but a lot of the modern guys are technically amazing, but the songs just don't do anything for me.
Yeah, I
I
get.
I yeah, I'm gonna get
Yeah,
watch the
slam for
one of the
that.
other guys in my band is gonna call me
Yeah.
immediately and I'm gonna kill you.
So if there was to be a total mecca to rock and roll and metal where we can go and, bow down and whatever, where would it be? What do you think? Where would it be in the world?
Well, it's got to be Birmingham, right? That's where Sabbath's from.
I like it. That's a simple. That's what I expected you to say, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
got to
hoping
be.
you
I
were going
mean,
to say that. And the fact you got a family there as well.
yeah, yeah. Somewhere. My wife's really into genealogy, so she traced a lot of my family back to Birmingham. I don't know if
Brilliant.
anyone. Well, if the people that live there, I haven't seen in 2 decades at least, but
Right.
still,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
have family.
It's still there. It's still there. It's still there.
Okay.
Okay. If aliens were to come to Earth, who do you think should speak to them on behalf of humanity?
Aliens were to come to Earth. Who should? Ridley Scott.
Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. Okay. What would your death row meal be?
Death Row Meal. Okay, so there's this burger place here in Chicago called Red Hot Ranch. I
Right.
don't live too far from it, actually. It's just, 15 minutes away down Ashland Ave. This is the best burger I have ever had.
Really?
And you get a burger and fries, $8, and it's enough food to fill you up for the majority of the day. You
Is it
will
better than
not.
In-N-Out? Because I'm looking forward to getting an In-N-Out next week.
Oh, I can't stand In-N-Out. They cook their meat in onions. It's just, oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, you want a good LA burger? And again, here's another deeply unpopular opinion, but there's a place in LA called Tommy's Burgers.
Right.
It's chili burgers instead of just instead of animal style. But I think Tommy's is way better than In-N-Out.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, you'll be in the area
Yeah.
in a week.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll check it
Tommy's.
out. I'll check it out. So, for metal, this is always controversial when I speak to someone in the States. Who has metal better, the US or Europe?
Depends on the type of metal. I'd say death metal, it's very neck and neck
Of course it
because
is.
I love the Swedish scene,
Yeah.
and Finnish death metal. But we had Florida and Western
Of
New
course.
York,
Of
you
course.
know.
Tough
Uh,
one.
if it's melodic metal, Europe.
Yeah, but
If it's
you've got to decide, Michael. You got to tell me who's winning. You got to put
all
this in your
right,
head and compute it and calculate it and tell me US or EU.
I'm gonna go EU.
Ooh, okay. You can
Yeah,
drop
and
Sabbath in there as well, and Priest and Maiden. I mean, come on.
yeah, well, I gotta go EU because the at the gates.
Yeah,
With
okay.
Water of the Soul, I wouldn't have a job.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, this is a good one, especially coming from a guitar guru like yourself. What do you think is the biggest or the heaviest riff of all time? The stink face, the everything. What is it? What gets you going?
Liege of Inveracity by Suffocation.
Yeah. Yeah, good
Yeah,
answer.
the slam riff that comes in that arguably, I'm holding up the air quotes, started the entire slam or brutal death metal
Good
thing.
answer and a quick answer. So it's tip of your tongue. That was good. That was good. But that's not even edited, guys, just so you know. It's like some people sit there for like 5 minutes scratching their chin, but that was pretty fast. Okay, if your friends were to give you an award, what would the award be for?
Biggest menace of the year.
Why?
Well, okay, here's an example. I couldn't sleep, so I'm up at night thinking about just like I'm not a metalcore fan, and I was thinking about how generally metalcore to me is just doesn't do it.
Right.
Uh, the lyrics are so over dramatic a lot of times. It just feels like a parody almost.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
So I call my friend at stupid o'clock in the morning and I say, "Hey, for your next EP, we should write like a 2006 Massachusetts metalcore style song and call it 'To Pick the Nose of God.'"
Menace.
Yeah,
What a
I
menace.
will routinely do stupid things like that. Or okay, so
I was gonna give you my number at the end of this. I'm probably not gonna bother now. There's this guy in Europe, and I came up with this great idea. And sorry, mate, that's my American accent. Sorry. What were you going to say? You were going to say something. I interrupted you. What were you saying?
another one is the studio we go to, Charlie. He doesn't like sugar. You know,
Right.
he's wants to be very healthy, very active, won't touch most things with sugar. But I found out that the only sugary treat he'll allow himself is a maple donut. So
Right.
every time we go to the studio, I will go to Yum Yum Donuts here in LA or in LA, and I'll buy 12 of them, put them in a box. You show up at the studio, I just set the box on his desk, open it, and I just wait.
Why? That's awful, mate. That's
Oh, well, sooner
temptation.
or later, the temptation takes hold and he'll eat three or four of them.
Right. Okay. Here we go then. What three words sum the band up the best?
Horror, 80s, death metal, but it's one word if it has a hyphen.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I'll take it. Taking that. Now, what's the most used emoji in your phone?
Um, it's heart actually
Oh,
because
nice.
my family's Polish, and I like to send a white and red heart next to each other.
Dziękuję. Dziękuję.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. I was in Poland before Christmas working. I was there for like a week doing like Gdansk, Warsaw, and Wrocław. I can never speak it. I love Poland. It's great. Have you been?
No, no, it's going to
Just
be my
next
first
year
time.
with Maiden.
Yeah, and the thing is, one of my absolute best friends is from Warsaw, and I haven't seen him in a couple of years. And we
It's a great city. It's a great city.
so many drunken stories throughout college, and now I get to see him again for the first time
Yeah.
in 3 years. So,
So cheap, man. It's so
oh
cheap.
yeah,
So cheap.
I've heard that the conversion, especially for like
Dollar. Yeah.
USD,
Zloty.
crazy. Four
Yeah.
to one
Mad. Finally, what one track should I play next and why? From the band.
from the band. You know, we have done a lot of music at this point, but my favorite song we've ever put out is still Silver Bullet.
Okay. Why?
So I would say Silver Bullet just because that song was, when we recorded it, it was the most ambitious thing we had done so far. It's
Right.
brutally it is an absolute endurance test. And the solo has just got this. I kick myself for writing this. The really fast picking riff in that solo is it's 16th notes at 220, and it's
Christ.
like four unbroken bars of it. And I'm just every time I have to play, I go, oh, why did I do
Are you gonna play that live?
Don't forget to breathe.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
Just
the best.
don't
Make
drink
sure
before
you've
this.
warmed up and don't forget to breathe.
Yeah, sure, man. That's a nightmare. Well, mate, Michael, thank you so much for joining me, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Pleasure to chat to. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I had a great time. This has been awesome.